is a lesson for day 7, applying trig functions. And in Algebra 3, we go a little bit backwards on this. We do a lot of the computational stuff early, and then what's going to seem like how we began this unit in previous years when you learned it. But so we need to know something about triangles, and it's all about labeling and knowing what the names of the sides are that you're talking about. So you should always label things like this. Like maybe that's A. We'll say C is always going to be the right triangle or the right angle of the triangle, and B and A are interchangeable. You can label them however you want. But very, very importantly, opposites are the same letters, just lowercase. So a keyword here is opposite. I'm going to use that a billion times. This is an angle right here. B, capital B, capitals are always angles. And opposite it, meaning the only side of the triangle that is not touching. So we're always thinking of angles and sides. Those are opposites. C's are opposites. See, they're cross. A's are opposites. This would be little a. And so if we were focused on there's a pro tip here. And it's that everything in this triangle matters, or is according to the angle from whose perspective you're looking from. So it's always from the perspective of the angle you're talking about. I'll just say a specific angle. So that's just for your purposes. Like if you need to use angle B, then everything in the triangle is labeled according to the perspective from angle B. So if that were the case, if we were saying B, then there's 3. This is what SOH-CAH-TOA comes in. Opposite B is side B, right? And that's called the opposite side. Very fittingly, that's opposite. That's what O stands for in SOH-CAH-TOA. The longest side is called the hypotenuse, and that's always the case. It's always opposite the right angle. So if you needed to label these sides, or you had trouble remembering which side is what, it doesn't matter from any perspective. The hypotenuse is always opposite the right angle, and it's always the longest side. That's the hypotenuse. And then from B's perspective, the word adjacent means next to, and the hypotenuse is right next to B. See that? It's like connected to it. But there's also this one. And so either one of these could be called adjacent, but for our purposes, since this is already the hypotenuse, then this has to be the adjacent side. So we need to be able to do this before you can really do anything else, because we won't even know which one of these to use. And SOH-CAH-TOA then means that sine is related to opposite hypotenuse. So like sine of B, in this case, is opposite over hypotenuse. And then that is what, so we'll do the same thing. We know that that's B over C at this point, but it's fine. Cosine of B, so that angle's perspective, is adjacent hypotenuse. So that's the adjacent hypotenuse. And then tangent of B is O and A is opposite over adjacent. So these are the equations that we'll be setting up, and we may know this angle instead of having B, and this will be like, maybe opposite is 5, and we don't know hypotenuse, so we're going to call that X, or in this case C, because hypotenuse will always be C. So these are the typical type of equations we're going to be setting up to apply trig, and this should be familiar. This should be review. So I guess I'll try and do a quick example with that. And I'm gonna make my own really quick. So let's say we got this triangle. You know, it's A, and that's B, and that's C. And let's say we know that B is 25 degrees. And we know that little b, so this is 25 degrees. We know that little b is, let's say, 12 units, you know, whatever it is, 12 units. So we know certain things right now. Right now we know that we have angle B, we have side B, so it's opposite, it's 12. We know that C is the right angle. We don't know anything else. We could right now, since we have B sitting here, and this is a right triangle, we could figure out something. Let's say we want to figure out, angles side C. So we need to know what perspective. We only have B. We could find A because, you know, all interior angles of a triangle have to add up to 180. But since we have B already, let's use it. So I have B. I have B's opposite side, and I'm trying to find the hypotenuse. So which trig function uses opposite hypotenuse? Opposite hypotenuse. So that's sine. We'd have to go sine of B, but we can now know what that is. It's 25 degrees. Equals opposite over hypotenuse. So that's 12 over C.